No. Um, so I'm Michaela. I'm an RN in New York, and I'll let you introduce yourself as we can talk about some stuff.
Hi, I'm Lillian. I just graduated from nursing school. I'm preparing to take the NCLEX. So yeah, I spent all my time doing New World questions for like the past 2 weeks.
Your world's
So
about.
that's what I've
Um,
heard.
yeah. When do you take your test?
I scheduled it for January 15th, so next Friday. And like I'm gonna have 2 weeks of like real intensive studying
Hmm.
because I kind of have a lot of overlap going on with I signed up for biochemistry. It's just biochemistry and lab is the only class that I haven't taken like as a pre-med requirement. But I don't
Nice.
know
So,
if you want to introduce the initial thing and then
yeah. So I'm pretty open to talking to anyone about at this point about what it is that they want to do or that they have done. I think it's really inspirational to other people. But I'm pretty on the topic of going from RN to MD. Um, but obviously open to anything and any insight you might have, and kind of I guess what your story is.
yeah, I feel like there's definitely a lack in content about like going from RN to MD. And I'm constantly looking it up to see like tips and things like that because I feel like as a nurse you have greater access to like clinical experience and shadowing and all of that. But as far as inspirational content, there's not much. It's just like traditional pre-med or like straight up nursing.
Right.
So, but yeah, my whole story is I went to college thinking that I wanted to do dental school, but I'm an immigrant, so I didn't know how college worked in America and the whole shebang. So I went in and they were like, "Oh, well, if you want to be a dentist, you have to take 18 credits and blah blah blah." And I was like, "Sure, I guess I'll do that," even though I didn't even have any studying skills or any like abilities. And I got really bad grades in the beginning, and I kind of slowly learned how to study and how to like improve my GPA because initially I was looking, I think my semester GPA during the second semester or my like overall GPA was a 1.7. So yeah, that was intense. And so like I went through like a process of trying to figure out how to study and stuff. And obviously I got better. My GPA is like very slow growth upward trend. It's not even like immediately I was better. It's like a little bit more, then a little bit more. And then towards the back end of my biology degree, I was like just trying to get by. I didn't even think about the dental school thing because there's like a lot of things that go into an application. And I wasn't even about that. I was just focusing on passing and getting my GPA to like an acceptable level. And by the time I graduated, I was at a 3.05, which is the cutoff for like anything if you ever want to do anything at all.
Hmm.
And then I spoke to my advisors back then and they were like, "Oh, I mean, you could like you have abilities because you really improved and stuff, but your GPA is still like not good at all. And then you're gonna have to take all these classes and it's gonna be like $20,000 and you should do them here because it was like a 4-year university." And I'm just like money, time, abilities, I don't know what's going on. And so I graduated in 2018, like not really sure what to do, but still liking the thought of like medicine. And entertaining it for real, like a little bit more than prior, because before it was just like a fantasy. And then at this point, it was still a little bit of a fantasy. But in that, I graduated in like May 2018. In that summer period, I was like, what am I going to do? And I was doing some researching and I found CRNA, which is like, it really attracted me. Like, what do you do in the job? Like, the skill required, the level of thinking required, um, the salary, obviously, if we're going to be honest.
Yeah.
Um, So yeah, I found CRNA and I was like, I dig CRNA. That's like anesthesia, like I'm about it. Um, and so I saw you had to get the BSN, and that was what appealed to me the most was the BSN because in the college I graduated from, a BSN is the program is like a year long. Um, and so I was like, okay, YOLO, let's do that, and so we'll get a BSN. And so like within that small period of time of the summer, I decided immediately I went to my community college and I signed up I think only two of my classes transferred. It was stats and chemistry. But then the microbiome, one to psych, nutrition, blah, blah, blah. I essentially did like 2 semesters with like 18 credits and I made it happen.
Oh my,
Yeah,
that's
and it's good. And I made it happen. It was like really nerve-wracking. And then, but I guess I had confidence from like taking the hard science classes. I was like, oh, I can do this. Been doing the hard science classes. I can do this.
yeah.
And so I was doing that to try to get into nursing school. And then I was started to do volunteering, started to volunteer at a hospital. And so that was during that first semester of like me trying to get into nursing school with like the 18 credits and the volunteering. Once December hit, like to go into the second semester, I changed like positions because originally I was on the floor volunteering, but then I changed to SPD, which is like sterile processing of the surgical instruments and stuff. And as a volunteer, but then stars aligned and I got a job there the first day I volunteered. So very good like hospital experience to have. Finished off that second semester to try to get into nursing school. So I had the volunteering, the like little bit of work experience. My GPA that I graduated with was right at the cutoff because like that school, it was like you need a 3.0 minimum to come in. But obviously people that go in, people that were in my class, they had 4.0s and like 3.9 GPA. So, and yeah, I applied. I took the T's. I did really well in the math and the regular English and the science. I got like 99th percentile. But on the English, I did really bad because English is my second language. So I think there's something missing in my brain where like grammar and things, like the grammar part of it, I didn't get it. So my score was still good, but it wasn't like incredible. And yeah, I applied with all those things and some way, somehow I got in, even though my GPA that I had originally graduated with was really bad. So I feel like even that in and of itself, to be able to get into an accelerated nursing program is like, I think my overall GPA might have been like a 3.2 at that point with all the like little after credits that I took. So yeah, if there's anybody out there that has a 3.2 and they have all those things going on, then you might get it.
That's good. You did a lot of good stuff.
And yeah, and then I did the nursing program. I started, so as soon as I finished that second semester, it started in August. It was like started a little bit late. It was like a short class and then like 3 real semesters the year after. So 2020 was like 3 semesters, like all of nursing school jam-packed. And it's pretty intense, but I still like had my job.
For your BSN.
Yeah, it's an accelerated BSN. And I just graduated December 12th. And yeah, and then, yeah, so I don't know. I guess at that, huh?
It's got to be a relief.
Yeah, it was a relief, especially the HESI situation. We get 2 opportunities in my school to pass. And initially, the first time I didn't pass, you need to get over a 900. And I got like a 796 or something. And so that was so stressful. If you didn't pass, you had to retake the semester and then you would get an F. And obviously, like those things combined would destroy the GPA that I've been working so hard to finally like build up again. Right. So it was very stressful. But thankfully I was able to pass. So honestly, I'm like past the HESI and I graduated. So I'm like chilling. I just need to get the NCLEX out of the way. And so in that period of time that I was doing nursing school, I was obviously thinking about the medical school thing. In the first semester or in like January 2020, because of the job, like things just kind of like happen sometimes. Like I feel like that's the thing. If there's anybody out there, things just like align and then opportunities present themselves. So because of the job, I found this like plastic surgeon to shadow. Initially, I wanted to shadow a CRNA. So at my job, since it's like next to the surgery department, I asked one of the nurses and she was like, oh yeah, I can get you a CRNA to shadow. And so I was able to go in during my shift and shadow this CRNA, and then it was kind of disappointing to me. Because the CRNA was not excited about his job. Like I had asked, he was like, "Oh yeah, it's a great job, and you make this amount of money, and blah blah blah." And then I asked him, "Oh, if you were to go to medical school or CRNA school," he was like, "Oh, I would pick CRNA school. I just like got caught up in my family and my kids and all of that. But looking back, I would have done the CRNA." And so that stayed in my mind. But like I was still like, "Oh no, but it's still a good job. Just because this guy didn't like it doesn't mean that it's not good."
Right.
And so the surgeon that was in that surgery, we connected somehow. I messaged him later, and I was able to shadow him over like right before COVID happened. So like prior to COVID happening. And then because I had the job, I was able to shadow him like at my hospital. It's like a major hospital in South Florida, and go into like the old like surgeries and like see the surgeries and talk to the CRNAs that were there, like doing his anesthesia. And then I also spoke to some anesthesiologists. And yeah, ultimately, like, I just saw that there's like a gap in knowledge a little bit. And I mean, I'm not trying to like attack anybody, but especially that was one of the big things that shocked me transferring from the biology degree to the nursing degree, where I feel like in biology and all those science classes, it's like so in depth, and like, it's like you're doing math, but with words, you know? Whereas in
Right.
nursing school, it's like you're just memorizing things. And so that was one of the big things that hit me when I first started nursing school, that I was like, oh, where's like the critical thinking? Like I
Right.
have this thing that I say that it's like when you're, let's say you're taking like a math class and you're like really into the math class and you're studying and stuff, it's like your brain gets really good at like doing the math problems, and like you feel well oiled, like your brain is just good at critical thinking. And I feel like I felt that feeling every time I would have a hard class during biology, but in nursing school, I haven't felt that at any point. Even like right now, studying for the NCLEX, I'm very nervous if I pass or not. But what I'm saying, it's like a different degree of thinking that's required. And so that's something that I even, one of the CRNAs I spoke to, she was like, "Oh yeah, when I went to the program, like it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Like she loves her job, but like she thought they were going to be more in depth and stuff."
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if you want to ask me anything or if I just keep
Oh, no.
rambling.
But I think one of the things that really stood out to me too is I always have gotten told, like, you need to stay in your lane. Like, why don't you go to med school? Like, these are things that you don't need to worry about. Like, leave it up to doctor. But I think that there's, I see people occasionally who just, they have it, it's there, like, that they need to go pursue it, because, like, I feel like it is a very different type of thinking and mentality. Like you said, like, I feel like if you always are curious about why, I guess, or inquisitive about all that, the science part, it really bothered me in school that it just felt like it was missing. Like we flew through a lot of the science classes, not to discredit it at all, but then once we got out there, it's like, okay, I don't really have the authority that I wanted, and I want to know why all this works, not just how to treat it. So that was a thing for me. But so have you started working at all yet? As in, so you're
Nope.
BSN, right?
Yeah, BSN, I haven't started working. I have to take the NCLEX if I, pass. Like I think I get two chances before the nursing residency start. Hopefully I only apply to one job because it's the hospital I'm in. Hopefully they hire me. I don't know if that's gonna be the case or not, but I'm really like all the eggs in one basket kind of girl. Um, so I get two chances, and yeah, but I haven't worked as a nurse, so I don't know. I'm sure I'll feel exactly what you said, but I haven't had the chance to feel that. But that's one of the things that I already know that it's gonna bother me. So like, why even play games with the idea, you know?
You should just pursue it, I feel like. But so what was school like for you? Did you have to do any clinical because of COVID?
So we were doing clinicals in January,
Mm.
and then like halfway in the middle of the semester, like towards the back end, they were like, it was like in a movie, and they announced it, and like in the middle of the class, they were like, "Hey, so classes are off. You need to go home," and we had to go home. And so we didn't finish the clinicals for that semester. And then summer semester, it was supposed to be peds, OB, adults too, some other classes. And for those, we did like online clinicals.
Mhm.
So it's just, I think it's not ATI. They just made us pay for a bunch of different software where it's like a fake patient, and there was a lot of homework that took time away from actually studying the content, which is one of the things that bothers me about the nursing education in general. And then for fall 2020, they were like freaking out because we needed a certain amount of hours in person and we needed a senior practicum. And so they found us a hospital, like different hospitals for different students. And we had to like jam all the hours in. Like I was going 2 days a week, like the full day, along with psych. I got to go to psych clinical, but like OB, peds, and all that, I never got to do that.
That makes it hard.
Yeah.
Where do you wanna work? Like, what type of area do you wanna work in ideally? Or
I
don't you
think
know?
right now I want to do OR. Initially, I wanted to do ICU because I was thinking CRNA, but I did my senior practicum in ICU and it was lovely. It was great.
Yeah, I see
But
it.
yeah, I realized like as a nurse, I love the ICU, but not as a nurse. Like I don't want my role to be the nursing role in the ICU.
Mhm.
Um, and so I'm thinking OR is what I'm gonna do, like circulator nurse. I was also thinking, I think very like ahead. So I was
Mhm.
thinking like I'll have like some better networking opportunities later on, like because you're stuck in the room with the physicians.
Right.
And then I'm interested in anesthesia. And then I'm probably going to apply to one of the residencies down here that is part of a hospital. So if I meet somebody ahead of time, you know,
No,
does that
you're
make
very
sense?
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm like 10 steps ahead.
Nice.
Um,
What did you just randomly decide you wanted to do all this? Or was it just the shadowing, or was there before that too?
I mean, just in general, like even when I decided that I was going to do the BSN, like I like obsessively thought about it until I planned everything out.
Mhm.
And then I like executed the plan. I tell my friend I have like there's periods of time in your life when you're like working, and then there's periods of time when you pause and think about what you're going to do next, and then you work. Like for me, being within the semester, it's like I'm working to try to get the grade and like get this done. And as soon as there's a break is when I'm like reflecting, okay, what am I going to do next for like the next thing?
That's
So
really
that's just how my brain works.
well, that makes a lot of sense. That's good. You got a lot of insight share. So you're gonna apply to med school from this, or are you planning to try to work while you do it, or
I'm gonna work. So the reason I tried to sign up for the NCLEX so soon is because I signed up for biochem, and then I'm gonna be like doing like nursing residency because I do want a job, like money, also clinical experience, also shadowing opportunities. Like who knows what could come of that. Um, and so I'm planning on applying next year because I want to have plenty of time to study for the MCAT. I've never taken the MCAT, so my plan is to study like in June to August, maybe take it around like September, August. And then like the whole medical school application cycle is very intensive. So it's not something that I'd
yeah.
like to rush. And then that'll give me plenty of time to like do secondaries and the essays ahead of time and stuff. And so I'm gonna apply in 2022, May 2022. So I wouldn't start until like a year after that. So it's like a 3 year
Mhm.
situation right now if I get in the first time. So
I'm sure it will. Do you have do you I guess did you like nursing school at all?
yeah, I enjoyed like being at the hospital. Like I enjoyed clinicals. I like healthcare. Um, I think nursing is great and it's very important. I just have a lot of problems with nursing education and like the way it's implemented. And I could
Mhm.
just go on forever about my frustrations about that.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, maybe it would be helpful. I don't know.
it's just a lot of, instead of providing you time to study the material, they are so obsessed with making you pass that they just cram these things at you that you have to get. They're for grade, it's not for fun. And
Right.
so it's like they're throwing the resources at the students, even though they're making money off of it. And then it's just taking away time that you could actually study. So it's not okay. I don't think it's okay. Like it doesn't allow you time to study and actually prepare for an exam. You're just worried, oh, I have to do my I already forgot wow, it's crazy that I already forgot. I have to do like all my little homework assignments, and then maybe I'll be able to study for like the 7 classes that I have a test for this week. I mean, it was accelerated, so maybe it's not as bad otherwise, but
Yeah.
it's a lot of stuff like that. And then even like a simple one, because I've looked into CRNA a lot. So CRNA was a master's degree, and now it's like a doctoral degree, and they want it to be like forced doctoral degree. But if you look at the setup of the education and the classes, instead of that extra year being used for like teaching you clinical anesthesia skills and medical knowledge pertaining to anesthesia in your job, it's like the first year is like an online, do a bunch of essays on nursing theory and nursing bureaucracy and CRNAs in the media and blah 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 blah, as opposed to using it for like actually teaching you more stuff. And if you think about it, part of the reason that they can't teach you more stuff in that year is because there's a master's degree out there that like gives you the same power within the license, so you can't learn anything like different than
Right.
the master's level people. So I imagine CRNA school and like NP school and all that would be a similar experience where instead of focusing on teaching you the actual content, you're going to be writing a lot of essays and
Yeah.
fulfilling some policies or something. I don't know.
Imagine you have a lot of frustration right now just coming out of it. I was so
Yeah.
happy when I was done.
Huh?
I was so happy when I was finally done. Actually, I didn't think I was going to pass my NCLEX at all. And all I did was UWorld. Thank God I actually did it, because a lot of people who didn't pass. Well, whatever. But anyways, I answered like a trillion questions. I don't know, thousands and thousands. Well, turned out like half the questions on my exam were straight from UWorld. And at that point, I
Really?
had them memorized. So I was like, what was it, 75 questions, I think. It shut off on me.
Nice.
No, I failed. I don't know anything. But apparently that means I pass. So UWorld is the answer. I got really frustrated that it's like, I still feel the same way, but it's like you're memorizing content, like the questions, the way nursing school and testing is set up. Like we would have to memorize questions if we wanted to be able to pass. And to me, that was really frustrating, because it's like, how is this teaching me how to better handle this, scenario or medical condition? So I don't know. I don't want to diss nursing or anything.
Yeah, not at all. Like the role of the nurse is so vital. Like
Yeah,
it's
no,
everything. It's impossible for there to be like a physician without there being a nurse.
I
So
yeah,
it's just the education structure is what's very frustrating.
yeah. I just wish, I don't know, at least for me personally, I wish we spent more time learning about the science portion of things. That part bothered me a lot, and I think that's why everyone says I should have went to med school. But yeah, I love being a nurse, particularly in the ER though, because it's fast and fun. And you're always learning, always. A lot of
Uh-huh.
doctors, that part was so cool. Have you ever been in the ED?
I haven't actually.
You should check it out.
Yeah, that would be cool. All I've had is psych, like med surg and ICU. But ICU is pretty cool, so can't complain.
Yeah, I like ICU, except I'm just too fast paced. I gotta move.
Hmm.
I think that would be my problem. But I had thought about taking a position in the OR, and I've always been curious, like the ER versus the OR. I've had people explain it to me, but it's very different. So your role as a circulating nurse will just basically is like management type
Yeah.
nursing.
It's like a lot of paperwork and stuff like that. I've spoken to when I was shadowing the doctor, there was like a circulator nurse there, and she was like, "Oh, you should totally do OR, and you should do it at this hospital. You should do this nurse residency. It's the best." And yeah, it seems like more chill, but I feel like doing it would also allow me at least more mental space, because I feel like something like ER and ICU is you need to know a lot and it's draining after you leave. Versus I feel OR is more like procedural. You're here, you're doing your thing, you're making it happen, but you can go and study after you're done and you don't have to take
So
anything with you.
that makes a lot of
So
sense. Is that part of why you're leaning towards OR, so you can do your
yeah,
further education?
yeah, definitely. Like I don't want to be trying to study for the MCAT and
Right.
be extra stressed with trying to, oh, I don't know all my EKG rhythms and what am I'm doing it wrong. I should probably go review. I'm going to kill somebody by mistake, you know?
Yeah. No, that's an extremely well thought out plan. Like,
Yeah.
very, very well. So, yeah. I'll forget what I was going to say about it. But you're planning on doing that. Oh, I lost it. Darn. This is what I get.
It's okay.
I haven't been working since April, so I'm like at home working. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm in school, but it's not patient contact right now. What are they? Do you know what they're requiring for applicants there for med school right now?
Applicants where exactly?
Like,
Or like in medical schools in general?
Around you? Because you said you're in Florida, right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's the same everywhere. I want to throw a resource out there. I hope everyone that wants to go to medical school knows about this because I feel like it's so important. Like, and it was so important in my decision to like try to pursue it. And it's the pre-med years, like those podcasts with Dr. Ryan Gray. Have you ever seen those?
I just saw something, but I don't know if it's that.
You have to listen to it. It's like really good. His podcast and people saying their story, it's kind of like what you're doing here. I think it's really important, and he like really breaks down all the different things that go into an application and all the things you have to plan out and all of that. And then it shows you like there's more to an application than just your GPA or your MCAT score. Like there's a lot that goes into it. Like I have a friend that he went to the same school as me. I think he graduated a year before me. He graduated with like a 2.9 or like a 2.8 GPA. And he went on to do like a master's in public health and he got good grades in that, but his undergrad is still like a 2.8. They're two separate GPAs. And he essentially like networked his way into medical school. Like not people he knew, he just emailed his way into medical school by emailing various people and being like, hey, I need help me get in, blah, blah, blah. And that's actually kind of what I did for nursing school, even though I didn't think about it. Like if you go into like the pre-med forums and stuff that they say not to like talk to the medical schools or like you should already like know your things or whatever. But I feel like that's like a good way to go to reach out and like that's what I'm gonna do. And yeah, he got into like a pretty good school in South Florida. So it's not even it wasn't like a DO school or anything, and I'm not trashing DOs. If I get to be a DO, I'll be so stoked. But yeah, he got into a good school with like a 2.9 undergrad and like a 504 MCAT, which is like very average MCAT and very bad GPA. So it's just a lot that goes into it. And so the Ryan Gray podcast, like he really breaks down all the different aspects. If he like even has people that go on and like you see when you apply to medical school, it's like you can get like a sheet. It's like a PDF format of like everything you put in and how you filled out your activities. That's like very, very important. And so it's your personal statement. So he's like, oh, you didn't write it properly here. You should have said this. You should have said a story. It's not a job description. And those things, although you might be like, oh, who cares about that? Like, is so, so important when it comes to applying and trying to get in. So, yeah, you should really look into those.
Is it on Spotify or?
It's on Spotify. He has a YouTube channel. The YouTube channel, you can like watch him like talk to people and stuff. And he has really good resources. Like anything you can think, like I'm a mom and I'm changing careers. Like I got bad grades in the beginning, but I want to get into it now. Like anything you can think of, he like somebody's already asked him and he's already like said what it is. And he works with people that are like were like previous admission committee people and very good information, very good advice. Like
that's nice.
I feel like that's part of the reason. Like that's something that I noticed when I was applying to the BSN, to the ABSN program. Like I feel like sometimes people want to do things career-wise and they don't do the research prior to trying to get into it. So for example, when I was applying to my school, they weren't doing interviews, not because of COVID, just because they didn't do interviews in person, but they wanted you to send a video of yourself answering like 5 questions. And then they wanted you to submit it onto YouTube privately. And they wanted you to put your name in a particular way and your student ID in a particular way. You'd be shocked to see how many people have them like publicly listed. They didn't put their name, they didn't put their ID.
Ugh.
And it's like you're not even following the instructions of like the thing that you're trying to do. And I was talking to my friend, and like it's like a thing that I've noticed. It's a similar thing where people are trying to apply to wherever they're trying to apply and they're not following the instructions. So a lot of people, they come in, they're like, oh, I took the classes, oh, I took the MCAT, and then I'm going to try to apply. But then they don't know how important the personal statement is, and they don't know how important the extracurriculars are, and all of that. So that's like a really big thing. So if anybody's watching this and they're not thinking about all of that,
Yeah. I guess that kind of leads me into, well, part of it is, I guess, what are some of the struggles you've had? Like, what are the things you've had to overcome, or like if people told you would make you not be able to do this, or do you get a lot of opposition?
Yeah, I've definitely had like struggles, like primarily internally, where you doubt yourself, especially initially coming into college and like getting bad grades. Trying to get better grades was really tough, but like slowly your confidence kind of builds. And even with my mom, she was like, because initially I was trying to sell her the idea of CRNA, and then in my mind, I was like, oh no, I shouldn't do medical school. It's not a, like financially, it's not a good idea. It's just gonna like bring me down in life or whatever. And so I would tell her like all the bad sides of medical school. I'll be like, "Oh, mom, I should do CRNA, and here's what's wrong with medical school. It's you have to do this and that, and I might be in debt forever, and blah blah blah." And she'd be like, "Oh my God, you're so right. You should definitely do CRNA school. I support you." Blah blah blah. And then now that I'm trying to do like a switch, I guess she's a little bit more hesitant. But she's still trying to be supportive. Um, Either way, it doesn't matter. It's my own pursuit. Um, Give me a second. I think this is where I'm gonna get interrupted.
It's okay.
Okay, I'm back.
I think you're talking about some of your struggles, or the things you've dealt with were hard, or competition.
Yeah, so I feel like the biggest struggle of everything is your own personal mental struggle of like, can you do this? Am I gonna fail? Like, I'm constantly like wondering about that because I feel like part of the thing is sometimes people are kind of overly confident. Like when like the less you know, the more confident you are about what you're doing. And I feel like I'm trying to educate myself so much on being able to get in and like trying to like be so good about being able to get in that I see like how difficult it is to get in and like how hard all the things are, and like if I don't meet these requirements. Whereas I feel if you're like a little bit more ignorant on all the requirements and stuff, you can be like a little bit more overconfident. So it's kind of like this balance of having enough confidence to like pursue it, but then being scared because you know what you're trying to do and how difficult it's going to be. So
Yeah.
that's the biggest struggle is yourself, I feel. And yeah, the grades, I mean, that doesn't help. So
I'm sure you will. You're very driven. How old are you?
I'm 25.
Oh wow, you're very ambitious. This is good. This is really.
I feel so old already. I feel like I should have been doing the thing already, but
Yeah, you'll get there now. Um, I was trying to think if there's anything else I had before I let you go. Any tips as far as getting through school or whatever with COVID, online or nursing school, or moving forward with med school, you name it. I guess that's my last. Any insight you got?
I feel like for nursing school, and I've heard this is a thing that occurs in like a lot of professional programs. And my biggest piece of advice would be, Quizlet and looking up the questions on Quizlet and then using that. So that's part of it. And then for the medical school or just anything that you're trying to do, like sit down, really think about it and do your research. That's the biggest thing that I see is like, don't go into it blind. Like,
Being prepared.
yeah.
I feel like the volunteering thing, I'm sure you already know all this, like, really give you an upper hand too.
I mean, it's not even an upper hand, it's like a requirement. Like
Right.
if you like get into the forums and like all these pre-med are, I mean, I feel like anybody that's like seriously pursuing medical school, they should know about like our pre-med on Reddit. They should know about SDN. They should know about all the podcasts that exist out there to like kind of talk you through it and help you. Like these are basic resources. And when you get into, I forgot what I was trying to say. Whatever, I'm just gonna keep talking. When you get into that space, you see that like the volunteering, the research, all of those things are requirements. It's not like a nice to have. It's like you need to have that, and if you don't have that, then you're really behind. It's a similar thing to uploading your video to apply to school and then not putting your name on it or not putting it privately, It's almost like an equal requirement. So I feel like a lot of people that ultimately don't make it is because they're not trying to the best of their ability, fulfill those basic requirements.
Right.
And then you can do more on top of that if you but yeah, my biggest piece of advice for any pre-med is the podcast, the pre-med years. Very good stuff.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, I will let you get going, but it was really nice to talk. Well, good luck with everything too. And
Thank you.
congratulations. All
Yeah.
right.
Okay. Okay. Bye. Nice talking to you.
Nice
Bye.
talking to you. Bye.